Welcome back, everybody, for segment 2 of True Crime AZ Live tonight, the expert breakdown. The reason why this is the expert breakdown is because I actually interviewed an FBI supervisory special agent that actually goes into this case with me. The Epstein case, the Epstein files. It's something that everybody is talking about. And this week, none more than the others with the release of this birthday card in the Epstein case. So I want to show you some video of what we're talking about. We learned this. It was this birthday book that Ghislaine Maxwell put together for his 50th birthday back in 2003. And you've got Donald Trump kind of at the center of this. It was this 238-page book. And there's messages and letters from a lot of different people, including former President Bill Clinton as well. But there's a specific page in there that people are taking extra attention to, and it's right here on your screen right now. This is allegedly a page from Donald J. Trump in Epstein's book, and it is a bizarre picture. You can see this kind of typewritten conversation, fake conversation, imaginary conversation between Jeffrey Epstein and Trump with this woman's body drawn on there. And it is a bizarre conversation. Part of it alleges to something like a wonderful secret that the two of them had. And so people have been kind of looking at, well, did Trump know something, a secret? What is he talking about? And this book would have been given to Jeffrey Epstein 3 years before allegations of sex abuse became public. But that page is in question not only because of the message and did it involve Donald Trump, but he allegedly signed it at the bottom. It's his signature. And that's what's really come into attention, under fire, in the spotlight this week. Did he sign it or did he not? And what does that mean if he did? And so reporters circled Donald Trump earlier this week on Tuesday to ask him about it. And I want to play you what he said.
It's not my signature, and it's not the way I speak. And anybody that's covered me for a long time knows that's not my language. It's nonsense. I don't know about, nobody suggested that.
But would you be open to doing
certainly
that?
I don't like that whole situation with respect to anybody being abused or hurt, but I haven't even thought about that. It's not my signature.
So Donald Trump obviously saying, I didn't sign it, that's not my signature, nothing like that. So that then brings into account, well, how do you look at a signature and handwriting analysis, and what do you do in that case? And so I interviewed a former FBI supervisory special agent, Lance Lysing. I've worked with him on several cases before, and interesting, I asked him, have you dealt with handwriting analysis back, with the FBI? And he said, yeah, in his case, he actually dealt with it a lot with bank robbery cases. He would take a note that would be written by the alleged robber, and they would then get a search warrant to search the robber's house or car to see if they could find other pieces of written information to corroborate who that person was. And so he has quite a bit of experience analyzing handwriting and analyzing signatures and things like that. And he told me that in a case like this, whether it's criminal or whether in this case, they're working behind the scenes just to try to prove whether this is Trump's signature on it or not, he references something called a handwriting exemplar. And I asked Lance, I said, what's an exemplar? And he said, basically, when you have a document, let's say like the birthday book here, the document in question, you will compare it against something called an exemplar, which is a credible piece of information on a document that shows that person's signature. So the exemplar is what you know to be true from somebody compared against basically like the test subject, like the birthday book. And so he said when you're working behind the scenes, which is what they assumably are doing right now with Trump's signature, they would look for very specific things in this. And I want to play that sound for you now.
Things they would look for are like style of the writing, the slanting of the letters left or right, the pressure used with the pen or the pencil when they're pushing down writing on it, spacing between letters, between paragraphs, between words, and then finally like letter formation, simply how do they write their K's, how do they write their G's, and all of that. If you have enough markers, you can identify if somebody's writing is the same as the exemplar.
he said probably right now an attorney is looking at this. And I guess what will happen typically in a case like this is an attorney would hire a handwriting expert to then look at this behind the scenes. And Lance said you can usually figure this out pretty quickly. However, he said there's probably no expert that would say 100% definitively, without a doubt, with certainty, this is somebody's handwriting. Because while handwriting analysis is decent circumstantial evidence, it's not direct like DNA would be, or something very specific like surveillance showing somebody writing something. It really would just be used kind of as like a, yeah, we believe this to be true, but it might not be something where you could ever prove it 100%. And so he said often attorneys will analyze this, and a lot of times in like a court of law, it's with wills. Like, was there a signature on a will? But if we're looking at Trump's case with Epstein, he said they're going to need to find an exemplar, a document, something that Trump signed around that time frame in 2003 to compare it to. And that's because people's signatures can change, handwriting can change, writing utensils can change, anything like that. So you want to try to find it from that time frame. And you think, okay, well, that was over 20 years ago. That might be somewhat difficult. But Lance Leising was saying that because Donald Trump is high profile and because he was a businessman, I mean, we're talking The Apprentice, things like this, he was doing business deals with contracts all the time. And so he actually thinks when it comes to this situation with Trump, it actually might be pretty easy to find his signature from back then.
Well, Donald Trump's a high-profile individual, maybe the highest profile individual. Even back then, he was a very high-profile individual. So those exemplars exist in some sense, whether it's from signatures on contracts or a signature that a surveillance video can be matched up with, so you know that Donald Trump actually wrote that and it wasn't like an executive assistant or somebody else, pretending to or putting a signature on an autograph or something. So you have to find an exemplar that came from President Trump.
And again, he doesn't think that that will be very hard to find because of all the documents that Trump has signed over the years in his business capacity and in legal dealings, everything like that. It should be relatively easy. Now, what happens on the other end of that, if it is, deemed to be a credible signature of Trump, I don't think anybody really knows what comes after that. And the Epstein files are still highly talked about, regardless of just the birthday book. There are still files that have not been released. This is still a battle in Washington. Most of the Democrats want the files to be released, that transparency. Most of the Republicans want them to stay sealed and stay private. So that's something that we still are seeing play out over in Washington, and I don't think we'll see it stopping anytime soon. But hopefully we'll learn more on this birthday book controversy that's happened this week. I know there's a lot of people that want to learn more given the nature of what happened with Jeffrey Epstein, everything he was convicted of, accused of, and everything that surrounds that case from a criminal standpoint, an abuse standpoint as well. So at least we learned from kind of a background perspective what is likely going on with the handwriting, the signature right now, how it's being analyzed, and hopefully we'll learn more in the next day or week because Leising said that you can analyze that pretty quickly. So a lot on that. We'll keep tabs on what happens with the Epstein files, the Epstein case as that moves forward because we know that it is a hot topic and people want to hear more about it. So we'll stay on top of that. We got one more segment for you tonight. Thanks for sticking with us live. We'll be right back after this break.